I've destroyed every relationship with my family. I have robbed my grandmother. The worst of the times, I was found at 7:30 in the morning in the city of Everett, spaced down in the snow, barely breathing. I was homeless at this point. I might have weighed 80 or 90 pounds. My hope with all of this is it's going to reach somebody that's been in the exact pit of hell that I was in.
Psalm 30, verse 5 says, "Weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning." Tamara has went through that long, dark night of addiction and made it to the morning, and she's going to tell us her story.
My name is Tamara, and I am an addict. It started, I guess, when I was probably about 18 years old. I had got out of high school. Up until this point, you know, I had a good raising. I had a good mommy, I had a good daddy, and they loved me more than anything. And, you know, as far as school-wise, I was smart. I was enrolled to go to college. Captain of the cheerleading team, prom queen.
Wow.
Like, you know, I had a good go. And fresh out of high school, I started running with some of my friends. And I guess it was more peer pressure than anything. You know, I seen them doing this stuff and having fun while doing it, and I thought, well, I'm gonna get me some of that, you know. So I tried Oxycontin for the first time when I was 18 years old, and I puked my guts up, but the high was unlike anything I guess I've ever experienced in my life. It's almost...
How did you get a hold of the Oxy? You was telling us earlier.
I started seeing a guy who was getting them prescribed to him from a doctor. He had got covered up in the coal mines, and he was, you know, he had a big prescription, you know, so.
So your problem goes back to what has caused so much of the problem here in Appalachia, the Oxycontin.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
From then it just progressed, you know. I remember about a month into it, I guess, the exact moment and the exact part of the road I was on when we're driving to get something, and on the way back it hit me like, oh my God, you know, I need this. And it was like a what have I done moment. It went from I have arrived doing this pill for the first time to all of a sudden like I need this pill to function as a human being, to get out of the bed even, you know.
Again, roughly about how long did that take from your first time to realizing that you had to have it?
I guess only like maybe a month, 2 into it.
Wow.
You know, yeah. Withdrawals will set in fast. Your body gets immune to something like that, it starts raising your endorphin levels, and your brain no longer produces what you need to be happy anymore. You're reliant upon this drug. It progressed from there. Law started really stepping in with Oxycontin, just whatever I could get my hands on. I even tried Suboxone at one point to try to get off, but for my own experience, it was just a substitute for something else, you know what I mean? It was still a substance I had to put in my body in order to be okay, you know. As the years progressed, I had babies. And even the love a mother has for her child wasn't enough for me, unfortunately, to stop. You know, they came first. There was many a times that I remember my children beating on the bathroom door because mommy's been in there for hours. Behind the scenes here, I am trying to shoot up. You know, I'm trying to get high, I'm trying to get better. They don't understand that. I think I'm doing what's best for them by leaving them locked outside the bathroom door. But they just wanted me. But the truth of it was, like, they didn't have me. And they would continue not to have me for the next 16 years of their lives, you know. I had got sober a couple times during, on through there, but it was never to no avail.
Always pulled you back? Absolutely.
It was the lifestyle of it. You know, you get addicted to that. You come accustomed to the ripping and the running, and, you know, it's just, that's all you know at some point. Like, eventually I'm to a point in my life where, hey, I don't remember what it's like to be sober. I've got to have something in my body just to live.
Wow.
Yeah. So, carry on, methamphetamine comes out.
Cheaper?
It's cheaper.
Easier to get?
I mean, I'm absolutely,
Because at this
fairly
point,
easy to get.
they're cracking down on the oxys, the pills, right?
Oh yes, without a doubt. And once again, it was like one of them moments, I have arrived. You know what I mean? Like the high was unlike anything I've ever felt in my life. At this point, it was better than oxys, in my opinion. But it really is because oxys was gone, you know?
Yeah.
But carried on with that, and COVID hit. And literally, I can remember being out in the middle of town, and there's not a soul. You don't see one cop car. You don't see one other person. It's like we had free reign, I guess you could call it, you know?
Yeah.
So after, I'm probably 5 years deep into methamphetamines. Heroin, I'm introduced to heroin for the first time. And that's when I guess my addiction really took hold. There's nothing I wouldn't do. There is no one I wouldn't betray. At this point, I've destroyed every relationship with my family. I have robbed my grandmother. I have left my kids for 3 months at a time, them calling my granny to find out if they had seen their mom because they've not heard from me. Granny, is my mommy dead? You know? So heroin's taken a hold on me. I've overdosed several times. The worst of the times, I was found at 7:30 in the morning in the city of Everett, spaced down in the snow, barely breathing. I was awoken at the hospital. That's when I came to after the Narcan. And I can't explain to you what Narcan will do to you. It brings you back and it saves your life. But for an addict, the withdrawal that it kicks in, because it rips every bit of that drug from your system, so it sends you an automatic withdrawal.
Oh, wow.
It's withdrawal times 1,000. What would hit over a course of days is now hit you like a ton of bricks the second you woke up. And I had my granny come sign me out of the hospital, and once I left, I had her drop me straight back off at the nearest place that I knew I could get something in me. I just kept on. I eventually, by this time, keep in mind, this time I've been convicted of at least 3 felonies for trafficking.
To support your habit.
To support my habit, yeah, absolutely.
So when you go to this place that has the drugs or what you need, you stay there to do the drugs, or?
Look, there's not probably been a person in this county that hasn't seen me with 16 bags on my shoulder. I was homeless at this point. I might have weighed 80 or 90 pounds. I had picked the skin on my face to where it's nothing but scabs. I had nowhere to go. And you don't know the true feeling of desperation until you're in a place that you know they don't want you at. But you have nowhere to go, and if you leave that place, you're going to be staying outside in the cold, you know.
So you spend many a day out in the cold, like just trying to find
There was never a time that I didn't have a place to lay my head at night.
Uh-huh.
But that's because I had a whole community of people just like me around me, and we was willing to, you know, there was always a place to go.
So you've been affected. You've seen what it does. You've lost loved ones or friends. You said
I have lost some of my best friends to this disease. I have lost, so many family members, overdoses specifically. Yes.
I think we've all had an effect in our lives with people we've known. I know several.
I know for Harlan County, there's not one single family here that's not affected in drugs in some way, shape, or form. Somebody's got a family member, you know, it's everywhere.
Yes.
You know, I can't imagine, and I know you as a parent now probably look where you're clean at your children. Thank God I don't know what it's like to have a child in that, but to look at your child and know your child is living that life, that has to be one of the worst hurts in the world.
It's one of my biggest regrets. My mother has since, before I got sober, she passed of cancer. So it's one of my biggest regrets that she didn't get to see me see this version of me. Looking back though, it's took all that hurt and regret and stuff to fuel me to want to change to do better. I knew if I continued living the way that I was living, if I continued using, I was taking the mother away from my children, and I was taking my dad's daughter away, you know?
Yes.
And you finally reached what for you was the end of the road, a choice between death and addiction with no third option. Can you tell us about that?
It wasn't that I wanted to be sober. It was that I was done hurting everybody around me that I knew loved me. I remember being in a trap house. I was on the run from the law. I had overdosed twice in 33 days. I remember waking up one morning and looking at this line of dope and crying, basically, and I said a prayer to God, begging him, please help me. I can't stop. I've tried, I can't stop. Like, I need this, and I don't want to need this anymore. Like, please step in, please save me. And within a week, he sure saved me with police officers busting in the house. You know, at the time I didn't see it like that, but looking back now, I mean, that's exactly what that was. That was an act of God. I just so happened to be there when they came, you know. From then, I went to jail. The withdrawal about absolutely took me out of this world. But it's also the desperation that keeps driving me. There'll never be a day that I cannot relive that on the drop of a dime. Because if I forget for 1 second what it took me to get to this point, all I'm going to remember is that high that I had, and I'm going to go straight back. You know, absolutely no questions asked. I'll go straight back. But I was in jail, and I had a lady say to me, Tamara, you're sick of this, you're sick of this, you're sick of this. You've said it time after time after time. And now my question is to you, what did you not do for drugs? There's nothing I didn't do. There was nobody I wouldn't betray. I mean, I've got 4 felony trafficking charges at this point. You know, there's nothing I wouldn't do to keep doing them. She said, all right, well, what are you willing to do to change that? What are you willing to do to stay sober? And for the first time in my life, I replayed that like time after time. I'm sitting in jail up here in Harlan for about 4 months, and God worked with Judge Hendrickson to re-accept me into drug court on the condition I go to rehab. I've been to rehabs before, but going in there, I'm still saying to myself, Tamara, what are you willing to do to change every bit of this? I completed an ARC center, got back in touch with a power greater than myself, which I choose to call God. I was reintroduced into drug court here in Harlan, and with all of the things leading up, with the jail, the 16 years of addiction, drug court gave me the tools and the resources, as well as the supervision to continue on. You know, a lot of people start drug court and they're going to stay sober for the fact that they don't want to go to jail. Yeah. You know, but they force you pretty much to go to AA meetings. But hey, all it takes is for you to be sitting into an AA meeting you're forced to go to for something to click and realize there's a bunch of people sitting in that room that's just like you. And sobriety is all about connection. If you've lived in addiction, it's isolation. You know, it's you, yourself, and I, because everybody's out for themselves. And you've just lost all connection with society and the world because, you know, you are who you run with, basically. And to rebuild connections with people and to actually form friendships that's going to help carry you through things. You know, if you've not been an addict, you're not going to understand an addict. 9 times out of 10. You may have a heart for them, but you're not going to understand what we go through. You know, so if it honestly wasn't for the judicial system, if it wasn't for that Harlan City police officer busting in that day and taking me to jail, and everything God has placed in my life since then, in very slow timing, I now have my 2 oldest children back in my custody. We have our own apartment. I've had a new baby who has brought nothing but joy to all of our lives. You'll never find anyone more grateful than a recovering addict. We have a small apartment, but God, I'm grateful for it. We have a crappy car that barely gets me to work, but I'm very grateful for it. I'm a server, I'm a waitress. Not where I thought I'd see myself when I was in high school, you know what I mean? But I'm happy.
I can tell that.
I'm so happy. So happy.
Well, you look great.
Thank you.
And I would have never known that she was an addict.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just beautiful and you're just full of life.
Yeah.
And amazing story. I'm going to see.
If you've went through addiction, you've really went through hell
Yes.
here on earth. The isolation of it, just you're cut off from everybody. Your family no longer understands you, and then eventually I'd lost everybody. My granny didn't want me in her house. My daddy hadn't spoke to me since I was 18 years old. My mommy died of cancer. My sister, she's no longer speaking to me. I had nobody or nothing.
So was you able to gain that relationships back?
Absolutely. I have a key to my grandmother's house today.
Wow.
After thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Okay.
My father, who I hadn't spoke to since I was 18-year-old, I now talk to him almost on a daily basis.
Amen.
Yes. Like I said, I've got my kids back.
That is, oh my goodness, that's so amazing. That's great.
So starting at the age of 18, you spent 16 years in darkness, a really, really deep darkness.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
And what she calls isolation.
like the
It
verse
is,
from Psalms I started this with, there was a morning to it, and you found joy in that morning.
It was nothing really that God carried me through every bit of this. I cannot say that enough.
And you said just malnutrition.
I was 80 pounds soaking wet.
Wow.
And so hungry you
I've
cried.
cried before,
But
yeah.
still, if you got $1, the addiction had to be answered
Absolutely.
first before the hunger.
Absolutely.
There is hope, no matter how far gone you're in this, if you're alive.
Absolutely. If you're still breathing, there is absolute hope.
So what have you got to talk to someone out there that may be watching that feels like there's no hope and they just can't get through what they're dealing with and what they're going through? What would you tell them?
It would probably have to be that I know you're alone. You feel alone. You've burnt bridges with everything and everybody you've ever came into contact with. You don't even want to wake up in the mornings, but you continue to do so. I'm telling you right now that God still has a purpose for you. There's people that will help you in any way possible. You can reach out to me at any time on Facebook. I can help you get into a treatment center. There's sober living establishments. Recovery community is huge and it is strong. Absolutely. This is coming from someone who has been homeless, who has been in and out of the jail system for 16 years.
Wow.
Numerous arrests, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's no hope for me at all. I thought, honestly, that I would die doing what I was doing, but I couldn't stop. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yes.
A runaway train, literally.
Yes, literally.
People
Yeah.
waving lanterns at it and still won't stop.
You see no future. Like when, in the moment of getting high, there is absolutely no future in sight. You're focused on that moment and you're focused on that next high.
That is your future, the next time.
Absolutely.
Beyond, you don't see nothing, death or anything beyond that.
So
You
nothing
just-
else matters. Nobody or nothing matters.
Nothing. My children didn't matter, and the love I have for them is unlike anything in this world.
What you're describing is like almost a demonic hunger for one thing, and even if it destroys you, you have to have it.
It strips you of everything that you are, and it's zombie.
Wow.
It's your master.
You mentioned while we was talking to you too, one thing I want to mention here before we close. about your emotional maturity pretty well stopped at whatever age you started using.
Yeah, I went through life like as emotionally mature as an 18-year-old girl. I had no idea how to deal with anything. I had no social skills unless I was getting high with you. Like, I had nothing in common with you. You know, so getting sober, that was one of my biggest obstacles, is learning how to interact with people again, how to look somebody in the eye and speak to them, because at this point I'm so ashamed of myself that I can't look you in the eye. You know, I'm below you. And that's when also one of the most greatest gifts of my sobriety is to have the confidence now to look somebody in the eye when I speak to them.
And here you are.
And here I am looking at you. Yeah.
You're working the public.
Yeah.
And you're working the tables. And you're a waitress. So
Yeah.
you talk to everybody every day.
And you look young and healthy.
Yes,
you
so
don't look
beautiful.
old. You said you had a 16-year-old daughter. I thought, well, she must have had her young.
I'll be 38 in November.
You're 38.
Yeah.
And your health is good.
Yeah.
For somebody
Given,
that went through
you know,
16 years of
I have
that.
no circulation in most parts of my body from, you know, intravenous use, but yeah. God's blessed me, for sure, yeah.
Well, hopefully he'll use this story of yours to bless other people and give them hope.
That's the hope, and honestly, the only reason I agreed to do this. I don't want anybody to look at this and say, oh, well, look at her, you know, she's just... my hope with all of this is it's going to reach somebody that's been in the exact pit of hell that I was in. That's why I sent you guys the pictures. It's hard to relate to someone if you don't see the progress that they've made, you know. You can look on the jail site. I have plenty of mugshots to go with the story I'm telling you guys.
How do you feel when you look at that picture, that mugshot? How do you feel today?
Grateful.
Now? You see...
Grateful. I've been asked the question, like, if I could go back, would I change it? And my answer is always going to be no. It's made me into the person I am today. Very open-minded, very just grateful for everything.
You seem to be very humble and very kind.
I had nothing for years, not even myself. You know what I mean? All I had was this drug, which betrayed me every chance it got. It tried to take many times to take my life. And it did take everything from me. It definitely made me realize what's most important.
Yes.
And that's not money, and that's not material things. It's relationships.
All that happiness and joy that was taken for so many years.
Yes.
Drugs, you got that back.
Oh, yes.
That's worth everything.
Yes.
And you did what oftentimes is hard or impossible to do. You actually rebuilt most of your bridges.
Yeah. Which you have to, that's one thing that I see is very important in recovery, is to get those relationships back and mend those. I mean, you went years without them and had the regret and remorse every day of your life of messing them up. So to actually rebuild that, they call that the promises in AA. They were so ashamed of me for so long. To hear them tell me now they're proud of me.
Oh, wow.
Is everything. I sure appreciate you guys for wanting to even look into something like this. You know what I mean? Drug addiction has a big stigma.
Yeah, you have numbers. You've got numbers you can give us, people to reach out to. It's not hard.
It's not hard. There's resources. There's, I know in Harlan, ARH, we have peer recovery coaches that you can go in anytime, day or night. It's going to give you resources as far as treatment or sober living. They're also going to give you harm reduction supplies, which is going to be Narcan, which I'm here to tell you has saved my life. Clean needles, you can get those. Fentanyl testing strips to test the drugs in order to, you know, see what you're dealing with. Because as long as somebody's still on their feet, there's a chance that they're going to sober up, not just lose their lives.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Also, people are quick to criticize and to look down upon drug addicts. And let me tell you, the best thing you can absolutely do is, instead of thinking to yourself, well, look at him, he's had everything in the world and he's threw it all away. You need to include that person in your prayers at night, because it's no doubt in this world that my grandmother's prayers is why I'm here today.
Who's smart.
And I absolutely believe that you're a very strong woman.
Thank you.
And you really certainly show that.
Thank you.
She looks like just a sweet lady sitting there, but inside Emotionally, she is Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was competing. When he was competing in the Mr. Universe contest,
So-
there are emotional muscles under this lady here.
Yeah.
I don't know, have we asked you, how long have you been sober?
I just celebrated 3 years on September the 11th.
Amen. Praise
Yes.
the Lord.
So you're already in your 4th year. You're working on that.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okey-dokey.
Great. That is so wonderful.
Yay.
And that's like I
And
said.
we got to meet at the beginning of this interview a wonderful little human being, your
She is a doll
daughter,
baby.
Ava. Yes.
Ava, and she is a sweet little lady who could very well not be here. You know, it's wonderful
Yes.
to look and see. That's the face of recovery.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a face that is here by the grace of God and by recovery.
Absolutely.
And it does work.
Oh, yes.
I
Absolutely.
want to thank you so much. And in the information section, and probably pin some of them in the comment section of this video, will be phone numbers, will be help sites, will be links. If you want help, all you have to do is call, click, or grab a police officer and tell them I need help.
Yes.
Go into a hospital and tell them you need help. You don't have to let this destroy you. Go to a family member who loves you and tell them, help me get help. I need it.
Yes.
And don't give up. Don't give up. I don't care if you fail a dozen times. 13 might be lucky for you.
Absolutely.
As long as you're
Yeah.
alive, there's hope.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
for giving me a
Sure.
new perspective on this and helping us to understand.
Yep.
And I hope if nobody but one person sees this video, it's somebody that needs to see it and will get help from it.
Amen.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.